Hi everybody, welcome back to Cryptic Woodworks. I know it's been a little while. I've been busy, just a lot going on between life and the shop work, but some projects have been progressing. And as you can see, what I have in front of me is what is going to become a drawer. So this is actually a drawer that's going to be wrapped around an iris mechanism. That's part of a commission project that's going on. So turning the handle opens up the iris. There's room down in the center, and you're able to close that back up again. Now, I've seen a couple of videos talking about how generally these are made, but most of them don't go into too much detail. So I thought before I went and assembled this whole drawer and had everything done, I would do kind of a teardown video and kind of show all the different pieces that go into this. So as we can see, we have that ability to open and close those iris lenses. So we've got a lever down here, the individual leaves. And what I'll do is start taking my edging off, and we'll get that out of the way, since this is a several layer project that goes on. Now we can see that I've got several different layers that are coming into this box. So I'll kind of go from the bottom, and we'll take off the bottom and set that aside. Now we can start to see that I've got these alignment rods that keep everything assembled and in the right alignment. This is where it's really helpful to have a CNC to do this cutting for you, because it's really good at cutting things pretty much perfectly. So now these two pieces are really just so that when the iris is open, you can't get to the rest of the box over here. So if you're putting things in it, you don't want them kind of sliding out over here into the rest of the drawer box. So these can just come off. And there were two of them to fill up the space. And we can see I've got another layer, and this sort of separates these from the rest of the mechanisms that go on. So if I work on bringing this layer off, and all of these holes are ever so slightly bigger than the 1/8 inch for the doweling that I used, and it helps just to be able to slide these pieces on and off rather easily. So I'm going to set that to the side. And now we can start to see what's really going on with this mechanism. So we can still be able to open and close it. And we can see I've got all the different guide rods. So these outside ones, they control the movement of the main piece. So they keep this bottom piece turning correctly in order to make everything else move correctly. Now we've got kind of a center piece here, and this is a gentle piece, so I'm going to carefully bring that up. And this is just a little bit of a, I guess you call it a retainer ring. Basically what it does is it ensures that as you're opening and closing the iris, you don't actually see the edges of the arms or anything else that's going on inside. It's just a small piece that fits in there. And then we get down to the main pieces of the iris itself. So we have the 5 leaves and then the 5 arms. So the arms all connect into the outer edge of the leaf, so that when you pull the arms, when you pull the main disc of the iris, this rotation, now this pin is locked in place, but these pins are free to move, so it can actually, this arm can turn, it can rotate on these pins, and then that rotation allows you to rotate out each axis leaf that's sitting on its own fixed pin. So I can actually pop one of those off. You actually see then obviously nothing's going to happen, but you can see that the rest of these leaves would simply flow right around it. So as long as that one's not moving. And each leaf is just its own. Pull one of these up, just its own separate little piece. Everything here was CNC cut. Very little sanding, luckily, off the CNC machine. And everything was put together and fit quite nicely. So to reassemble, obviously what I did was I started by putting all of these pins in. Then I just started dropping everything on top of it. So I would drop my leaves down. I would put a pin in each of these. and then just start assembling everything, putting all of the 5 leaves on, put the arm on, put this outer disc on, and then finally come and put my retaining ring back on. I'm going to carefully push that down. As you can see, it has these cutouts that allow the arms to go in. There wasn't a whole lot of room that I had left here, so I had to get pretty darn close to it. But they allow those cutouts to go in. And then we would put the divider board back in place. This one's not too bad to get in. Most of these pins are pretty well aligned. Sometimes I do have to move things just a little bit to get them to fit. Now that goes back on. Then these 2 rings drop in place. And then finally the bottom goes in. Now we would turn it over. Then I would put my walnut edging, in this case, back around the outside. And everything works fine. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a breakdown and actually what's going on inside of one of these irises that we tend to see showing up in a lot of places. They're pretty cool. This is a multi-layer one. I have seen a couple where there's a little less componentry, and I might try those out on some future project. So again, hope you enjoy.